right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thank you, JT. Appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. Bob Pompeani here. Chris Mueller is up at 93.7 The Fan, and we are talking sports with you. And all you have to do is call that number, 412-575-2600. And what a Sunday in Pittsburgh, Mr. Mueller. First, you had the Penguins down 4-1 in Columbus in the afternoon, played a game. They won. Come back with 4 unanswered goals, including the game winner by Sidney Crosby in overtime, and that set the stage for what we saw last night. Truly one of the more remarkable games, and that's saying something because this rivalry between the Steelers and the Ravens has had some tremendous moments. This may be the best regular season game of them all. Would you agree?
I think the one piece of competition it has in terms of regular season games is the Immaculate Extension game. But for me, this was a better football game because I think you got 2 games, Bob, and we had the privilege of sitting and watching it together with our buddy Steve Benko. Everyone's working and getting ready, and we're calling out things before they happen. The 3 of us were like batting 1,000 on predicting things before they took place. When it got to 10-0 Ravens, there was a very real chance that if they scored again, it was going to start getting away from the Steelers badly. Steelers get 3, Herbig playing well, and Linderbaum with a very crucial holding penalty to short-circuit a drive. The Steelers just there was an interesting period of time in this game, Bob, where the Steelers just found their footing and didn't get wiped off the map. And then they kind of did what they always do, which is linger around long enough for John Harbaugh or somebody in purple and black to make a horrifying mistake and cost them the game. And that's ultimately what happened. I just thought it was a fascinating and incredibly entertaining game.
It has to be unbelievable ratings. When we see those, we'll let you know what they are. But you mentioned resiliency. There's a guy more than anybody was Aaron Rodgers, because I thought, the way it was going for him in the first half, he didn't seem to have his game in a continuation of what we saw in Cleveland. And then when the matters, became the most important, when he put the chips into the middle of the table, he had to make plays. Boy, did he make them. Fourth quarter numbers were crazy. A 130 passer rating, he had a touchdown, I think 11 for 13, very efficient in what he did. And I realized Baltimore's defense is not like Cleveland's, which is better, and not what they will see coming up on Monday, which is the Houston Texans, because they can come after you. When they do that, it makes it a little bit more difficult. But he just stood there, did what he had to do, and make plays, and just carve them up in the secondary.
A couple thoughts on that note. One, it just always seems like Rodgers, when he gets it going, it's not even like the old thing where people used to say, put Ben in the 2-minute drill and let him run the offense, and that's when it turns good for the Steelers. Even Ben, I think, knew that was a sprinkle it in, not a make the whole plane out of it kind of thing. Rodgers, for whatever reason, Bob, I don't know if you get the same impression. I don't know if our viewers get the same impression. He'll wait till he absolutely has to start standing in there and making deep shot throws downfield. But when he makes those deep shots, he connects on them. Like when he decides, okay, I've got to do this, I can't just throw to Gainwell, throw to Warren, throw short. He's humming them. The ball to, it was in the third quarter, but the ball to Thielen was phenomenal.
Yeah.
One of the best throws he's made, maybe the best throw he's made all year. Thielen, a very veteran move, did not put his hands up to the last second. The ball to Freiermuth was another perfecta when they absolutely needed it on that third down play. And then there's one other element to all of this. And I don't know if you heard me say this. I don't know if you repeated the stat. I think a lot of people got a hold of it, but it's true. The game was also 2 games in that for the Steelers offense, it was what are you before Kyle Hamilton gets hurt?
Yeah.
And what are you after? They were essentially the Las Vegas Raiders offensively while he was out there. And then, and this is not an exaggeration, they became the best offense in the NFL from the time he got hurt onward.
And that was friendly fire. I mean, he hit the helmet with one of his own teammates, knocked him out. He was not back, and boy, that was a huge part of this game. By the way, we have our KDKA.com/Connect poll of the night brought to you by Penn West University, and it's a simple one. Will the Ravens fire John Harbaugh? There were 4 coaches fired today. When we come back, we'll talk about them and where they may end up going, if anywhere. Specific to that is Kevin Stefanski, who I think is the highest guy on the list. We'll find out what Chris has to say, what you have to say. So call us at 412-575-2600. We are live tonight, both on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan in a simulcast right here in Pittsburgh, PA. All right, this is our Xfinity tweet of the night from OptaStats. There have been over 60,000 field goal attempts in NFL history. Tyler Loop's miss on Sunday night is the only one of those attempts that came as time expired in the fourth quarter in the final week, with both teams' playoff hopes resting solely on the result of that kick. So, man, he had been perfect. This goes to show you how sports is so great, Chris, because you never know what you're going to get in this. And the pressure that comes with this is substantial, especially if you're not used to it, even if you are used to it. Chris Boswell, right before then, missed an extra point. And so Tyler Loop gets the play, 4th and 7, they complete it. I don't think many people thought he was going to miss that one, but he did.
I wouldn't go so far as to tell you I thought he was going to miss it. Like, you kind of try to get a sense of how you're feeling about something. The only thing I can say is normally with most kickers, 44 yards, middle of the field, if they have any experience. Like, I know Boz missed an extra point, but if Boswell's kicking that, I think that's like a 95+% chance. With him in this situation, for whatever reason, I was only down at like a, 70% chance. So you still think he's going to make it, but not shocked at all to see him miss it. And it also felt like comeuppance for John Harbaugh, who I think just, again, outsmarted himself. You've got a 2-time MVP. You've got 2 timeouts. You absolutely have a chance to get like 5, 6, 7 more yards.
Yes.
Make it a high 30s field goal attempt. Instead, and this when I put on the kicker clearly wanted the ball in the middle of the field. Maybe from the left hash it would have just stayed inside the upright. Instead, he tells Jackson that what he really wants is just the ball where the kicker wants it. They make zero effort whatsoever to actually get the ball any closer. And how much did that kick miss by? Like, you know what I mean? How close was it to the uprights when it veered off? If you're from 36, 37 yards away, maybe that was the difference. And I thought John Harbaugh, once again, it's just going to go down in history as one of the many questionable coaching decisions that he has made when the chips are on the table against Mike Tomlin.
And that brings us to our question of the night. Speaking of Harbaugh, will he be fired? So far, no has 77% of the vote. Yes has 23% of the vote. Today, Raheem Morris got fired. I was a little surprised by that. They had won 4 in a row, and I realized it's, 8 and 9 won that division. They were tied for it, but tiebreakers favored Carolina. But he's only been there for 2 years. Then you had, of course, Kevin Stefanski got let go in Cleveland. How about Pete Carroll, one and done? And we'll talk about Stefanski here right now, along with Jonathan Gannon in Arizona. That wasn't going anywhere. What do you think about this? Was it a good move? Scapegoat? Will he end up again with a team? Because I think a lot of teams would be interested in Kevin Stefanski.
Scapegoat, maybe. I think it just probably reached its end point. It's obvious that. Oh, I should say this. Maybe not obvious. There has been a lot of debate one way or another, Bob, about whose idea it was to bring in Deshaun Watson. I have a theory based on this, since Andrew Berry is sticking around, the GM. I think this was probably a Haslam-Stefanski thing, maybe, it's fair to say. Or maybe it was Andrew Berry and Haslam, and they figured Stefanski didn't get enough out of him, so they were mad at him about that. Or it's Stefanski and Haslam can't fire himself, so he's going to fire the guy who pushed for Deshaun Watson. But my main, point with Stefanski is he strikes me as the kind of coach where in that Browns ecosystem, which is so toxic, which just chews up coaches by and large and spits them out, he might do a rehab tour as somebody's offensive coordinator, if it even takes that. If you put him in a more stable situation in a franchise that doesn't operate like a Mickey Mouse operation, I think he would do fine. I think he knows how to call plays. I think he absolutely understands the basics of relating to players. I just think that the Browns' entire organizational rot was not something that he was going to overcome.
Yeah, it's like kind of going to the Jets and Giants, same kind of thing. Is very prevalent there. Let's go to the phone lines, and we'll begin with our number one Cochran Go One Better caller of the night, and that would be Brian in Castle Shannon. Hello, Brian. You're on.
Yes, good to hear from you. Happy New Year.
You too.
And here's an idea for the new push that we have with the two brothers. Why don't we just call it, partly in honor of their dad, the Iron Push? And in addition to that, with it being the Iron Push, That might be a good thing to get an advertising campaign for Iron City beer.
There you go,
Bear in
Brian.
mind,
You sound like someone who's good about putting that stuff together, but I think they'll stick with what they have over there. Although it was interesting to see Cam Hayward on there a couple of times. First time didn't work so well. Second time did. I thought, by the way, he played one hell of a game. I mean, he was all over the place at his age, what he's doing. He seems to get better every year, even though people doubt that. Man, he was outstanding last night, Chris. He's one of the top-rated guys at his position in the NFL all season long.
Bob, I like to cook, and there are people who will tell you, whether it's like a smoker that they use outside or like a big heavy cast iron pot, that the longer you use it, the better it actually performs and the more flavorful the food is. He's sort of like that old appliance in the kitchen or outside, right? You know it. You think like, I might have to replace it finally. Nah, just fire it up every year and it keeps doing what it always does. And also, to the caller, listen, if there was ever a time for somebody to co-opt brotherly shove and take it away from Philadelphia, wouldn't you actually use the case where it's one brother pushing another? Brotherly shove. Let's not overthink this.
Yeah, I like it. All right, let's go out to Rich in Unity, or Pleasant Unity it is. What's up, Rich? How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
All right, what's up?
Hey, at the end of the first half there, speaking of the brotherly shove, why didn't they use that there instead of trying to do that crazy pitch play?
Yeah, I mean, you can second-guess play calling all you want. If it works, it normally gets a resounding yes. If not, then it's ripped apart. I just would have taken 3 there. I told you that, Chris, last night. I like points in that position. I think the PI in the end zone kind of made it a decision that Tomlin had to wrestle with, and he decided to go for it. If that doesn't happen, he probably kicks the field goal. But, the play call wasn't what I liked. I don't mind going for it necessarily, but not with that play.
I thought it was the right decision and an aggressive decision by Tom. Not even aggressive, because I think the numbers, without even having looked, I'm willing to bet the numbers backed going for it pretty strongly there. So I think it was Mike getting it right on the decision to go for it. Here is my big problem. You don't have any timeouts, and once you send a man in motion and you notice that the Ravens are not playing man-to-man defense, and then you're outnumbered against a zone, so no one's traveling with the motion man, okay, well, that kind of tells you something. If you're Aaron Rodgers and the clock has just stopped and you're not going to face a delay of game runoff, I think you just take the delay of game there, go back 5 yards and kick, because that play was doomed the second that it was obvious the Ravens were in zone. I guess Rodgers didn't think he had time to kill it. And the fact that they went ahead and ran it, I think, is not really reflecting well, or doesn't reflect well. Obviously, things got better later on Aaron Rodgers specifically in that moment.
John and Apollo is next up right here on the Sports Call. Go ahead, John. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing, Bob? Thanks for having me. Couple comments here. First of all, I don't understand the Steelers' defense against Flowers. Two times wide open to get a touchdown was just unbelievable. Somebody's missing the ball there. But the other issue I have is when you get down close to the goal line, somebody never remembers about it. Remember the old button hook play? You just get across the goal line and somebody zips it to you really fast. Well, Rodgers could be absolutely exceptional at that play.
Well, I'll get back to your first point about Flowers. I still want to get more of an explanation about what happened on that. Both those plays. In fact, all 3 of their touchdown passes were almost like nobody was around them. Even the first one to Walker. Jalen Ramsey just kind of stood there with no one behind him, and it was too easy. What's your most logical explanation for all that? Because I'd like to hear, from players and coaches alike about what actually happened. It looked total confusion.
I thought Jalen Ramsey on the first one got caught sniffing around for the cheese a little bit too much, got caught peeking in the backfield, and did not bathe himself in glory there. On the Lamar Jackson hero play to Zay Flowers, where he avoids 2 guys basically meeting at the quarterback and somehow gets loose, it's pretty obvious they thought Queen was going to be able to stay with Flowers long enough in that concept. And then Jackson, you can see him sending Flowers down the field. Like, he makes that little hand motion before he throws it. Well, Zay Flowers is a very fast individual, so I'm willing to bet he was about 20 yards down the field when Jackson did that. And then by the time you see him, he's 50 yards down the field. That one I just chalk up to a great play by a great player in Jackson. I will say this. The last one is a phenomenal play design in the moment. They really sold it hard. They had it overloaded. I thought Duggar got fooled on that one as well as Ramsey. I'm not giving the Steelers a pass. I just thought that last touchdown to Flowers was like one of the best calls I've seen a coordinator dial up in a situation like that all year.
But it was interesting. Chris Collinsworth in the booth said, they did it again, and he was wide open again. Again, very interesting stuff. We're due for a break. We got Jim, Wayne, and John. We'll try to get to your calls next as we continue right here. Acrisure Stadium, the site of Monday night. It's going to be the Texans and the Steelers. We'll talk more about that game coming up next. We're back, and we're going right back to the phone lines. We got John and Mars, who's up. Go ahead, John. Make it quick, please. John. All right, John, you're not there.
Well,
you missed your chance.
That was pretty quick by him.
That was quick.
I'll give him credit. That was as fast as it gets.
Our apologies to Jim and Wayne. Won't be able to get you on. Real quick, let's talk about the matchups we're going to see here this weekend. Beginning with the Texans and the Steelers. The Steelers are underdogs again. They feel good about that, but the Houston Texans have never won a road playoff game. I think they're used to where they are. They've done it at home. I got a good feeling about this one. And then the other two, real quick. We have a minute left. Buffalo, Jacksonville, Chargers, New England. How do you see them all coming out?
Chargers are really, really banged up. I think that combination plus the fact that it might be the league MVP that they're going against was going to be very tough for them to surmount. But Herbert, I would never count out. Bills-Jags, I think, is an incredibly interesting game. I think the Jags, by the way, are the best team left, or most complete team left in the AFC. I think the Jags are going to win that game, although Allen on a mission is scary. An initial thought on the Texans, you've got to take them as they are in every individual season. I don't care that they haven't won a road playoff game. That is a violent defense, and I think this is going to be the kind of game Mike Tomlin is very comfortable playing. The question is whether his guys can hold up physically.
Yeah, that's going to be the whole key. Can they get to him? And if so, what kind of damage do they do? And that's going to do it for us. Chris, I'll see you again tomorrow night, and we'll see you also right here on KDK Plus and 93.7 The Fan. Thanks for joining us. Good evening.